Welcome and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Our City, Our Power, the Public Power Movement in San Francisco, hosted by the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. My name is Elisa Rodriguez Fury, and I am the Public Relations Officer for Clean Energy Programs here at the SFPUC. Today's webinar will be available in Cantonese and Spanish. To join the interpretation with your Cantonese or Spanish interpreters, please click the interpretation word icon in the menu bar. Before we get started, I want to discuss a few housekeeping items with you all. Today's meeting is being recorded. To activate live transcription, select the CC or closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen and click Live Transcript. To participate in Q&A, please select the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to type in your question. To join the interpretation in Cantonese or Spanish, click the interpretation icon as is shown in the screen here. The San Francisco Public Utilities Commission is a department of the City and County of San Francisco. We provide high-quality drinking water to the City of San Francisco and wholesale water to 3 Bay Area counties. We provide clean energy to San Francisco through our Hetch Hetchy Power and Clean Power SEF electric services. We also manage the collection and treatment of wastewater, which helps protect public health and the environment. Our mission is to provide our customers with high-quality, efficient, and reliable water, power, and sewer services, to be inclusive of environmental and community interests, and to sustain the resources entrusted to our care. For more than 100 years, San Francisco has provided clean, safe, and reliable public power to meet the needs of our local community. Next slide, please. Today, the SFPUC continues to serve as the city's local clean electricity provider. Hetch Hetchy Power is San Francisco's public power utility and energizes some of San Francisco's most important municipal assets, including streetlights or airport, the general hospital, public libraries, or public schools and muni. The SFPUC also manages Clean Power SF, San Francisco's community choice energy program, which provides renewable power for more than 380,000 residential and commercial customers across the city. Through Hetch Hetchy Power and Clean Power SF, the SFPUC provides more than 70% of the electricity consumed in San Francisco today. We now invite you to watch our public power video.
What is public power?
Public power is affordable power.
Public power is about local control of our energy future.
Public power is about people, not shareholder profits.
Public power is community power.
Public power has been serving San Francisco for more than 100 years.
What does public power look like in San Francisco?
From public schools to the historic cable cars.
Public power serves many of the critical needs of San Francisco today, thanks to Hetch Hetchy water and power systems.
Every day we deliver clean hydroelectric power for San Francisco.
Whether it's powering the terminals at San Francisco International Airport,
the operating room at SF General Hospital,
or the shops at the Ferry Building.
We are proud to serve the San Francisco community.
So what's next for public power in SF, you ask?
Now more than ever, the ability to deliver clean and affordable energy is critical for San Francisco. But today, unfortunately, PG&E stands in our way and limits our access to the electric grid.
We can secure our clean energy future by fully switching to local public power through public ownership of the electric grid in San Francisco.
Under local ownership of the grid, we could deliver clean Hetch Hetchy power to all San Franciscans.
And we can modernize our grid to more effectively combat climate change.
It is time for full public power in San Francisco.
And our city is united like never before to make it happen.
Join the movement for public power at publicpowersf.org.
Because it is our city, our power.
Because it's our city and our power.
Because it's our city and our power.
I would now like to welcome SFPUC General Manager Dennis Herrera to share a few opening remarks with all of us.
Thanks, Elisa. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here today to learn more about our city, our power. I spent much of my professional career, both as city attorney of San Francisco, now as general manager of the SFPUC, going after PG&E and starting to make the movement towards public power. I'll tell you that the road to achieving full public power for San Francisco may be long, but it is a road worth traveling. The truth is, PG&E is out of touch with the needs of San Francisco and ratepayers throughout the state. We all know this and are experiencing it right now in the form of higher electricity bills. Since January, bills have gone up by as much as $35 per month for the average PG&E residential customers. That's on top of a 50% increase just in the last 3 years. Meanwhile, PG&E's service has not improved. It's not reliable. It's failing at its core mission as a utility. And we're paying more each and every month and not receiving the investment we need from PG&E. Unfortunately, PG&E continues to drag its feet and make it difficult for us to connect to new projects like affordable housing and other things to the grid. The question has been asked before, but it's worth asking again. Why should we put up with this? The answer is we shouldn't. PG&E is not the only option for electric service. And as you'll learn today, San Francisco has every intention of purchasing the local electric grid from PG&E and providing the benefits of public power to everyone in our city. We can provide electricity that is cleaner, greener, and more reliable. And I want to emphasize to you all of you today that this is a top priority for me as general manager of the SFPUC. In fact, this is a top priority for our city's leadership. The mayor, our city attorney, and the entire board of supervisors agree that public power is the answer for getting out from under PG&E in San Francisco. And the truth is, we're ready to do this. Our city has the experience, technical ability, and resources to run our own power grid. Public power is in our DNA in San Francisco. The San Francisco Public Utilities Commission has been providing clean, safe, and reliable Hetch Hetchy hydropower to San Francisco for more than 100 years. Through our Hetch Hetchy hydropower and the clean energy we buy from Clean Power SF, we currently provide about 75% of the electricity already used in San Francisco. And thanks to our power programs, we saved San Franciscans $170 million just in the last year alone. That is money that otherwise would have gone to PG&E if our power services did not exist. That is what not-for-profit public power can deliver and does already. To close, I just want to say that I think it's fitting that we're hosting this webinar during SF Climate Week, because I want you to take a moment for you to imagine a city, our city, being powered by 100% renewable energy. A San Francisco where more solar panels dot rooftops, where there's convenient, accessible electric vehicle charging stations in every neighborhood. Imagine an all-electric city where 100% renewable energy powers our lives, improving the lives and health of our communities and eliminating harmful greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change. This city and this vision is possible if we can control our own energy future. Purchasing the local grid from PG&E is one of the single greatest actions we can take to achieve our climate action goals and ensure that we're able to deliver clean, safe, reliable, and affordable power for San Francisco and for generations to come. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us in this movement for public power for San Francisco. Together, let's make full public power a reality in San Francisco. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, General Manager Dennis Herrera. Before we start with the presentation today, I would like to let you all know that today's webinar will be broken up into 4 parts. First, we will talk about why San Francisco is pursuing public power. Secondly, we will discuss the challenges the city faces with PG&E locally. We will then talk about what our agency is doing to move towards public power. And finally, we will close out with ways you can get involved in the public power movement. We will then open up for Q&A with our panelists, where we will answer your questions. As a reminder, please use the Q&A function in your menu bar to submit questions. We will aim to answer as many of your questions as we can during today's webinar. Next slide, please. To kick off today's webinar, I would like to introduce our 4 presenters today, all of whom I have the privilege of working with here at the SFPUC. We have Pamela Husing, who is the Deputy Assistant Manager for Federal Agreements and Public Power Expansion. She leads negotiations and litigation efforts to establish just and reasonable terms under the wholesale distribution tariff and is overseeing the work to achieve full independence from PG&E. She has 30 years of experience in the energy industry, all in the public sector. We also have with us Meg Mill. She is the Manager for Acquisition Analysis for the SFPUC's Power Enterprise. Her focus is on affordability for customers and on economic, financial, and risk considerations for HHE Power and Clean Power SF. She has over 30 years of experience in the electric utility industry. We also have with us Grace Tang. She is the Manager for Federal Agreements. She provides analytical and political support for issues pertaining to the wholesale distribution tariff, including leading the litigation's efforts against PG&E at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. She has 10 years of experience in the utility industry. And we also have with us Peter Galata. He is the Communications Manager for Power at the SFPUC. Peter oversees marketing, education, and outreach for the agency's clean energy programs, Clean Power SF and HHE Power, which together serve more than 385,000 customers here in San Francisco. Peter and his team also lead public outreach and engagement for the Our City, Our Power campaign, helping to raise greater awareness and support in the community for public power. I will now turn it over to Pam, who will begin today's webinar with part 1 of the presentation, Why Public Power.
Good morning, everybody. And I want to thank our General Manager, Dennis Herrera, and thank you, Elisa, for the introductions. I want to also thank all of you for being here today. My name is Pamela Husing. I'm the Deputy Assistant General Manager for Power with the Federal Agreements and Public Power Expansion Group. I will start part 1 of the presentation. Public power for all of San Francisco is possible, but we need to control our own energy future, which means removing our reliance on PG&E. As the climate crisis grows, PG&E continues to place major obstacles in our way. For many years, San Francisco has set aggressive climate action goals, going well beyond state goals and mandates. The city is committed to meeting these goals. But as the climate crisis grows, PG&E continues to place obstacles in our way. PG&E has a track record of imposing unnecessary limitations and costs on San Francisco's use of the local electric grid, throwing up roadblocks and charging exorbitant fees for basic power connections, blocking everything from affordable housing to new public transit projects. PG&E's aggressive tactics are costing San Francisco millions of dollars and imperil the clean energy future we want to achieve. The ability to deliver clean, reliable, and affordable energy is critical to San Francisco. We can secure our clean energy future and put an end to PG&E's obstruction by fully transitioning to local public power through public ownership of the electric grid in San Francisco. That means purchasing, owning, and operating our local power grid. And our city is united like never before to make it happen. The central issue is the electricity grid. Today, PG&E is a monopoly middleman in between San Francisco's electricity supplies and our management and use of those supplies. This is true for almost every streetlight, residential home, small business, and activity that relies on electricity to function. All of the electricity supplies that flow into San Francisco and all of San Francisco's local clean energy resources like solar arrays must connect to the PG&E grid in order to get to electricity users. This means relying on and paying to use the PG&E owned electric grid. PG&E has used its position as the monopoly grid owner to frustrate, delay, and increase costs for both Hetch Hetchy Power and Clean Power SF. The truth is, public power offers an array of benefits for San Francisco compared to investor-owned utilities like PG&E. Public power utilities are not-for-profit service providers. The public power business model is superior to the for-profit investor-owned utility model. Public power utilities are tax-exempt, have lower borrowing costs, and they reinvest revenues back into the local community. Those revenues go directly into services, programs, and operations and maintenance to enhance service reliability and safety. Public power utilities in the United States have been shown to provide more reliable and more affordable service. Since public power utilities are community-owned, they are locally governed, more transparent, and benefit from public oversight, particularly when it comes to setting electric rates. Public power is not new. Today, there are more than 2,000 public power utilities in the United States that serve 54 million people. These utilities are community governed. They directly own and operate their electricity grids and provide safe, reliable power to their customers. There are dozens of publicly owned utilities in California, which you can see highlighted in yellow on the map of California to the left. Many of them are right in the middle of PG&E's service territory, which is colored in blue. In total, there are more than 50 publicly owned electric utilities who supply about 25% of the state's electric load. For example, looking at this map, public power is already serving the cities of Sacramento, Los Angeles, and Burbank. The Turlock, Modesto, and Merced irrigation districts are also publicly owned utilities. Right here in the Bay Area, many municipalities have been providing public power to their communities for decades. These are utilities like Palo Alto, Santa Clara, and Alameda. They are surrounded by PG&E and are much smaller, but they all have a proven track record of safety, reliability, and affordable bills. Here you can see San Francisco with our public power utility enmeshed in PG&E's grid. Next, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Meg Meal, and she'll talk about challenges with PG&E locally.
Thanks, Pam. And I want to also thank everybody for being here today to learn more about what we're doing. I think all across PG&E's service territory, PG&E's customers are seeing their bills go up. Many are not satisfied with PG&E's service. And then from there, San Francisco has additional challenges. And we're going to take a closer look at those in this section of this webinar. PG&E's rate increases are all over the headlines. PG&E's rates are skyrocketing, and so are their profits. There is no question that at least some of the rate increases have turned into profits for PG&E's shareholders. Digging more into the numbers, PG&E's track record of raising rates is clear. This chart shows a typical customer's bill from 2019 through 2024. A typical bill of about $170 per month then is now $270 a month. That's more than 50% increase in just a few years. And PG&E is still claiming financial woes to its regulators while boasting about shareholder profits on Wall Street, talking out of both sides of its mouth. In fact, just this morning, PG&E announced to its shareholders that it is well on its way to record profits in 2024 as well. Unfortunately, both PG&E and the California Public Utilities Commission, the state agency that approves PG&E's rates, have already locked in additional rate increases for 2025 and 2026. And if you didn't hear, PG&E's rates went up again in March and April of this year. So the $270 per month is moving higher. Further, PG&E has several other proposals already on file at the California Public Utilities Commission that will hit our bills over the next several months. Public power rates in PG&E's service territory are substantially lower than PG&E's rates. Pam showed you some of the publicly owned utilities within PG&E's service territory earlier. They all charge rates that are well below PG&E's rates, almost 50% lower in some cases. This chart shows you several of the publicly owned utilities that are within PG&E's service territory. All of these public utilities have a proven record of providing safe and reliable service. How does this happen? Why are public power utilities able to do this and keep their rates low? In large part, we do not have to pay shareholder profits or executive bonuses. Over the past 3 years, PG&E's CEO made over $80 million. These trends demonstrate that PG&E is spending more and charging you more than it needs to, and enjoying ever-increasing profits along the way. One last note on this slide, San Francisco Hetch Hetchy Power is shown in the left-hand bar here. You will see that our rates are slightly higher than our sister publicly owned utilities, but still significantly lower than PG&E's. One of the difficulties we have with our costs is that we pay PG&E to use its grid here in San Francisco, and those costs have gone up dramatically. And how about customer service? PG&E ranks low for customer satisfaction. PG&E has built a reputation for providing below average service, reflected in its low customer satisfaction ratings. The chart on the left is from a recent J.D. Power study of residential customer satisfaction across larger electric utilities in the Western U.S. As you can see here, PG&E lands squarely at the bottom of this sample set. And what are some of the service difficulties? First, in terms of transparency, PG&E often implements its rate increases with little or no advance notice. Customers notice only once they receive their bills. Further, PG&E takes a one-size-fits-all approach to its territory. Whether in program design or customer outreach, PG&E serves customers who are spread out across a wide area. You saw that in the slide that Pam showed earlier. There is little room for considerations of San Francisco's unique situation. Smaller houses, lots of apartments, relatively mild climate, and a high density of both people and office buildings. Local public power for San Francisco offers great opportunities for us to meet our unique needs as a city and achieve our aggressive climate action targets. A little bit more on service. San Francisco itself has seen its share of real problems with PG&E service, performance, and reliability. For example, in February and March of 2023, Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital was without power for more than 15 hours, with no effective communication from PG&E about when power would be restored or why it was taking so long. This is crucial information for a trauma center operating on backup generators. City officials reached out to PG&E during and after the outage, but received limited responses. Another example, in April 2023, thousands of customers in the northeastern portion of San Francisco lost power for several days. This outage was reportedly triggered by an explosion and fire with PG&E's equipment near Clay and Montgomery Streets, raising significant public safety concerns. City officials received minimal information about the cause of these fires from PG&E, and the estimated times for restoration were both lengthy and inaccurate. Local public power allows us to set our own priorities and to make investments in the grid that will prioritize safety and help us modernize the grid in San Francisco to take advantage of new technologies and new sources of electricity. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Grace Tang, and she's going to talk a bit more about some of our specific problems with PG&E.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Meg. So Meg touched on how PG&E's increasing rates and poor customer service affects San Francisco residents and businesses, but PG&E has also been obstructing the city from delivering our public power service to critical city projects. And a big part of PG&E's obstruction involves imposing unnecessary and unreasonable requirements on the city when we try to connect our infrastructure to the grid. This diagram shows one of more egregious examples where PG&E initially required huge oversized equipment for an SFMTA bus driver bathroom. As you can see in the diagram, the equipment PG&E required was larger than the bathroom itself. City staff was able to find a workaround and get service from an existing city facility nearby to avoid PG&E's crazy requirements. But this isn't a one-off scenario. PG&E has repeatedly required this type of equipment for dozens of other city projects. And since 2018, PG&E has obstructed over 135 public projects in San Francisco. Obstruction can range from unreasonable requirements, insane cost, and delays caused by PG&E's unresponsiveness. As you can see from this map, these obstructions have direct negative impacts on the community and have blocked progress on some of the city's critical priorities, including affordable housing, schools, parks, health clinics, and important infrastructure projects. Next slide, please. Here are just a few examples of projects that have been impacted by PG&E's obstruction. The 3 projects pictured here all faced delays of over a year while the city and PG&E disputed over PG&E's requirement of that oversized equipment that I mentioned earlier. All 3 projects ended up avoiding installing that equipment, but it still incurred additional project costs of at least $150K to install smaller equipment that the city had determined was not necessary for safety and reliability. The city was ultimately able to serve public power to these 3 facilities, but that's not always the case. Some city projects are forced to get power from PG&E directly, which means they'll have to pay those higher electric rates that continue to increase that Meg had mentioned earlier. All of these delays and unnecessary requirements, they add up. In the past 5 years, PG&E's obstruction has had a total cost impact of $35 million. These are resources that are being taken away from the city's other funding priorities like affordable housing, parks, and public safety. Something needs to change, and I'm going to hand it off to Pam to talk about how we do that.
So what are we doing about this? As we explained earlier, PG&E is in the middle. Our goal is to deliver our clean power services directly to San Francisco's residents and businesses through city-owned wires, fully independent from PG&E. We have known for a long time that full public power is the best option for San Francisco, especially as PG&E's problems have grown. Today, we have reached the point where pursuing public ownership of the grid is our only option to ensure that all San Franciscans receive safe, reliable, and affordable electric service today and for decades to come. San Francisco is ready for full public power now. To achieve this, we will purchase and operate PG&E's electric assets in San Francisco. San Francisco has always had the right under the California Constitution to operate our own public power grid. Today, more than ever, it makes sense to control our power under a single local public system that will be more reliable and accountable to the public. San Francisco's leaders have come together around our shared values of transparency and local control. Public power is supported by our mayor, the Board of Supervisors, and many of our local and state elected leaders. Our city has the experience, technical ability, and resources to run our own power grid. We can't afford PG&E obstruction tactics any longer. Without PG&E in the middle, San Francisco has a much clearer path to achieving its clean energy and climate goals. Under local public ownership of the grid, we could deliver clean Hetch Hetchy power and other clean energy supplies to all San Franciscans. We will be able to invest in and modernize the local grid, more easily connect renewable resources like solar and battery storage, expand electric vehicle charging access, and support greater electrification of transportation and building decarbonization to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. Public power also ensures more affordable rates because investor-owned utilities have higher rates to support shareholder dividends, executive bonuses, and added costs inherent in a for-profit utility. In 2021, PG&E CEO made $50 million in annual compensation. Over the next 2 years, she made over $30 million, $14 million in 2022 and $17 million in 2023. In a publicly owned utility, that money would be reinvested back into service delivery and community-focused programs, helping to keep rates affordable. San Francisco's publicly owned utility, Hetch Hetchy Power, currently offers the lowest electricity rates in San Francisco. For most customers, our rates are approximately 40% lower than PG&E's rates. We are taking action. In 2019, shortly after PG&E declared bankruptcy, we prepared a preliminary report for the mayor and the Board of Supervisors to demonstrate that local public power is the best path forward for San Francisco. As part of the solution, the city made a $2.5 billion cash offer to PG&E and made a commitment to pay the costs of splitting PG&E's grid along the San Francisco-San Mateo border. The city reiterated its offer a year later in 2020. PG&E's response both times was that its assets in San Francisco are not for sale and San Francisco's price is too low, both with nothing to support their claims or concerns. Then and now, PG&E continues to tell the California Public Utilities Commission that it needs cash and rate increases to stay financially viable. To improve transparency and help the process move forward, in 2021, San Francisco asked the California Public Utilities Commission to determine a fair price through a public valuation proceeding, allowing both sides to support their views. In consultation with appraisers, engineers, and financial experts, the CPUC will determine a fair price. I'll talk a bit more about this in the next slide. In parallel, San Francisco's planning department is conducting a thorough environmental review to ensure that the sale will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. And the SFPUC is already planning for how we will scale up and transition from PG&E service. We see the valuation proceeding as an opportunity to encourage a business-like transaction with PG&E. PG&E's failure to propose what it thinks is a fair price is a roadblock and is causing delays. The valuation proceeding gets both parties to the table and allows for public input. It will help to resolve the what is a fair price issue. We filed testimony prepared by outside experts in April of 2023. PG&E has yet to file its view. After PG&E presents its case, public hearings will be held, hopefully later in 2024. Absent further delays, a CPUC decision is expected sometime in 2025. The California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, requires public agencies to evaluate environmental impacts prior to approving any projects. The city's planning department is currently conducting this analysis for our public power efforts. The CEQA process is occurring in parallel to the valuation proceeding. CEQA analysis for the project will review impacts of the physical separation work required for purchase of PG&E's grid. Most of the separation work is focused near the southern border of the city. The final environmental impact report is expected to be issued in the first quarter of 2026. So how will we pay for this? We will issue low-cost, long-term revenue bonds to fund the upfront costs. Upfront costs include the purchase price, the cost to separate the grid along the San Francisco-San Mateo border, and funding for startup and transition costs. We will repay those bonds over time using payments received from customers for electric services we provide. We will keep our operating costs and rates low by eliminating profits, income taxes, exorbitant executive bonuses, and other costs charged by PG&E. No general fund dollars are needed. San Francisco would see the benefits of public power without impacting tax dollars used for critical city priorities like affordable housing and public safety. Now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Peter, who will talk about how you can help.
Great. Thanks, Pam. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Galata, and I am the Communications Manager for Clean Energy Programs here at the SFPUC. And my team and I support community outreach and engagement for the Our City, Our Power campaign. So San Franciscans have never been afraid to pursue what we believe in. And today we're uniting behind cleaner, more reliable, and more affordable public power. And we really invite all of you to join us and the movement for public power in our city. And as we mentioned earlier, public power is ultimately about community power. And through our campaign, we are actively engaging with communities across San Francisco to raise awareness, answer your questions, and build support for this vision of clean, affordable, reliable public power for all. And we want everyone to know the benefits of public power and how to get involved in this movement. And so we want to close today's presentation with 5 actions you can take to help support this campaign. So action 1, sign up for updates. We have a dedicated website that is our go-to resource for information about the Our City, Our Power campaign. It's listed here on this slide, publicpowersf.org. Do check it out if you want a deeper dive into the campaign. There's a lot of information there, a lot of documents for you to peruse. But on this website, you can sign up to receive updates and action alerts directly to your inbox. And we will keep you regularly updated on PG&E's activities and what we're doing to stand up for local ratepayers and public power. Action 2, endorse our campaign. So if you are a fan of public power, we'd love to know it. Add your name to our growing list of community supporters who are saying it's time for public power now. You can endorse our campaign either as an individual or as an organization. And to do that, you can visit our website, publicpowersf.org/take-action. And when you get to that page, click on the I Support Public Power button and sign our form to show your support. Our action number 3, invite us to present. We could really use your help spreading more awareness and fostering dialogue in the community about the importance of local control of our energy future. And we'd really love to come to present to members of your organization or your neighborhood about public power. We can take a presentation like we've done today, and we can adapt it to your audience or format. And we also have materials available in multiple languages and speakers available as well to ensure language access. You can request a presentation or discuss opportunities for us to do outreach with your organization, or even come and table about public power. You can do that by sending us an email at publicpower@sfwater.org. We'd love to know of upcoming community events and opportunities we could partner with you on. All right, action 4. Follow us on social media. So you can connect and engage with our campaign by following Our City, Our Power on social media. You can share information about our campaign with your networks and with your own followers. You can also get updates from us. We do post regularly, and you can also join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts as well. So engage with us on our social channels. Our handle here is @PublicPowerSF. We are on Facebook, We are on Instagram, and we are also on X, formerly Twitter, so you can find us on those channels and follow us. And last, action number 5, let your elected officials know you support public power. So as was mentioned earlier, we are lucky to have the support of our mayor and the Board of Supervisors in this effort, but it's still important that they hear directly from you, their constituents, about the need for public power in San Francisco, especially as we know PG&E's problems have grown. So what you can do is you can send an email, you can write a letter, or call your local representative's office. 1, to thank them for their support, and 2, to let them know you are in favor of full public power in San Francisco. So to make it easy for you to take these actions today, we're dropping a bunch of links into the chat, which will make it easy for you to get to those pages. You can also visit, again, our Take Action page on our website, publicpowersf.org/takeaction. And we really appreciate your interest and support. So I'm going to close us out now from our presentation portion of the webinar. And just before we head into Q&A, just do a quick summary of a few of the things that we shared. So San Francisco has been energized by public power for more than 100 years. And our public power utility today offers the lowest electricity rates in San Francisco. As we talked about, without PG&E in the middle, we can expand public power service and provide access to cleaner and cheaper electricity to everyone in San Francisco. Public power utilities are not-for-profit providers who are accountable to the local communities they serve. And without the need to pay shareholders and executive bonuses, public power offers more affordable rates and can reinvest funds locally. As we mentioned, the city and its leaders are united like never before to purchase the local electric grid from PG&E so we can control our energy future. And we are actively taking steps to make it happen. And we hope you will join us in staying engaged and updated on our efforts in the months to come. So now we're going to open it up for Q&A based on the questions you all have contributed using the Q&A function. We recognize there have been a number of questions submitted, so thank you. I see it's been active in the Q&A. We're going to do our best right now to answer as many of your questions as we can. And if you haven't submitted a question, there's still time. Feel free to drop a question into the Q&A function in your menu bar. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to invite our panelists to join me and come off mute and come on camera for our Q&A session. And we're going to get this kicked off. All right. So thank you to our panelists. I think I wanted to start with one question that I think was mentioned really, which is a topic that was mentioned throughout the presentation, and I think also from General Manager Herrera when he opened up the webinar this morning. But it is April. April is Earth Month, and this week is Climate Week in San Francisco. And so I think the first question to kick things off is with that kind of in mind, how would public power help San Francisco achieve its climate action goals? I know, Pam, you touched on this a little bit, but I think I'd love to hear more really about, what could we do that we aren't able to do today or that is difficult for us to do today?
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, as I had mentioned earlier, the city has quite aggressive climate action goals. And if we're in control of the grid, the city has the opportunity to invest in grid-dependent innovations and to invest more in things like, EV charging, microgrids, more distributed generation throughout the city. As a couple of my colleagues have touched on, we've had quite the issue connecting some of our projects to the grid that's owned by PG&E. So if we are able to control those connections, we can put forth innovations that allow us to reach our decarbonization goals and to foster a clean, green city from a power perspective. The other thing I just want to touch on is, everything takes money, and if we have the ability to, take our ratepayer funds and put them directly back into the grid, we can, those dollars will go a lot further, and they're not going to other costs like shareholder profits or CEO salaries. So we have an opportunity to push the climate action goals further, faster.
Meg or Grace, I don't know if you want to jump in on that at all, but otherwise I'll jump to actually just on this question, though. I think our first question from one of our attendees today, which also, Pam, you touched on this, but it does relate to this question around kind of cost. So how would acquiring the grid impact the city's budget and ability to fund or not fund other projects?
I will take that, and Meg might have something to say about that as well. But as I mentioned, in the electric utility model for every electric utility, is that the ratepayers fund the operations of the utility. So the ratepayers are funding everything. As I mentioned earlier, the acquisition of the grid would we would issue revenue bonds that would be paid back over time through the rates. So the rates that we are paid to provide electric service will pay those bonds back. And also the operation and maintenance and capital investment in the grid would be funded by those ratepayer funds. So we don't touch the general fund. We don't touch dollars that are tagged for other uses, such as, investment in, police, fire, et cetera. The other thing I just want to mention is that by providing lower cost electricity and lower cost interconnections for the electric distribution services, by doing that, we are helping our city facilities lower their costs. And so, I believe Dennis Herrera touched on the fact that we are saving millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars for the city over time in reduced costs, and we can expand that to the whole city. So things that, hospitals, clinics, schools can spend more of their money on their core function as opposed to PG&E rates and PG&E exorbitant cost to interconnect. And that's very important. The other thing I just want to say that we touched on as well is the local control aspect of this. This is community-based power. So we decide where the dollars get spent as it relates to the grid and the electric service.
I'll just add on briefly to that. The thing that's important to remember is that right now you're paying an electric bill to PG&E. So the money all goes to PG&E. It's not like you're going to have a new bill. That bill is going to be replaced by a bill from the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, just like your water bill. And so that is what allows us to have the funds to pay back the bonds.
Thank you both for that. I'm going to jump to our next question because I realize we have just about 10 minutes left. I want to try to cover as many of the questions we have here. We talked about in the webinar today, just other publicly owned utilities operating in California. And so our next question asks, what can San Francisco learn from the success of Sacramento's municipal utility district, also known as SMUD? And how would our municipal utility look similar to or different from SMUD?
I'll take that one. I would say that we are more similar to SMUD than we are different, primarily because we do not have shareholders looking for profits. So that we very much follow our sister publicly owned utilities to learn from what they're doing in terms of customer programs, energy efficiency savings, rebates, all that kind of thing. And it's great that there's so many locally here right by us because we have a lot to learn and share with them.
Thanks, Meg. Was mentioned earlier in our presentation and about PG&E CEO's salary making over $50 million. How much would the city lower consumer rates if San Francisco gains control of the local grid? So just speaking on that kind of shareholder profit motive, what would it look like without, what does it look like without that profit motive, and what would rates specifically look like?
So I'll take that, and Meg can probably jump in as well. So as far as, what the rates will look like exactly, of course, we don't have that in front of us since we don't have a purchase price from PG&E. But we can look, as the previous question alluded to, we can look to our sister publicly owned utilities to determine how removing profit motive, taxes, those kinds of things from the equation result in lower rates, because typically they are 40% to more, 40 to 50% less. And that is across the board. So I think, and currently Hetch Hetchy Power's rates are 40% less than PG&E's rates. So I think that's a fair indicator of what we could expect. Of course, there are opportunities to invest in things we want in the city that may impact those rates. But my guess would be, and actually from not just my guess, but a lot of modeling we've done and things that we've looked at, and looking to the other publicly owned utilities in the state, is that we could offer substantially lower rates. Of course, we have to wait and see what the final numbers look like. And that's why we hope that PG&E will come to the table in a business-like manner and negotiate this in a reasonable way.
Thanks, Pam. Our next question is asking about just the grid assets themselves and kind of the state of the grid in San Francisco. And we mentioned earlier some of the public safety concerns about the current grid and its reliability and safety under PG&E's management. So this question is, with the PG&E grid in poor condition, one would assume SFPUC would need to make significant capital improvements to the grid after buying it. How would those capital improvements impact customer bills versus the projected increases coming from PG&E?
So one thing to keep in mind is, yes, we are going through an effort to determine what the condition of the grid is so that we can all be on the same page as to what the assets are valued. And so, for instance, if we find that certain pieces of equipment, certain sections of equipment are in poor condition, or they're at the end of their useful life, for instance, they're clearly worth less. And PG&E, cannot, well, I guess they could try, but they cannot charge us more for it in the initial purchase. And then we would have more money to invest in upgrading that. So the other thing I just want to point out is that as it stands now, all of us pay these rates and they go to PG&E, the corporation. You saw on that map how big that service territory is. The funds go all over for various things to invest in. As we're collecting funds for the city, we are reinvesting those funds into the city and programs and in capital investments. But to your point about the condition of the grid, we have lots of engineers looking at the condition, and we will work through getting more information from PG&E, which has been a problem, to make sure we have an accurate assessment of the condition of the grid, and go from there as far as what we need to improve upon, considering what's been happening with the reliability. So that is an ongoing challenge, just to get the information. But like I said, if it's been starved of if the grid itself in certain areas has not been maintained in a way that we think is appropriate, or if, like I said, it's at the end of its useful life, we will spend money to upgrade it. But alternatively, it should be less as a purchased item because it's at the end of its useful life. So we'll have to work through that with PG&E.
And just to add to what Pam said, the other thing is if we need to issue more bonds to pay for these long-lived investments, we will be borrowing at a much lower cost than PG&E. So the grid will need to be modernized in any circumstance much better if we can be in charge of how that is done and how much it costs and when it gets done.
Great. Thank you both. We have a few minutes left. We have time for maybe a couple more questions. I want to jump to a question about just this, and we've been talking about this kind of public power movement, not just here in San Francisco, but in California and really in other parts of the country. So there is a ballot initiative effort called Power San Diego to separate San Diego from SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric. Do you see an opportunity for public power efforts in San Francisco, San Diego, and others to support and reinforce each other?
Absolutely. So the American Public Power Association is a trade organization, I guess you would call it, for publicly owned utilities. And there's an opportunity to share lessons learned or things we're going through currently with established, publicly owned utilities that can say, this is how we do it or what we've experienced. And then, of course, for those of us who are looking to expand our footprint or expand our services, or seeking to start up, we can support each other through, just lessons learned and how, staging and messaging and various ways. I don't know, Meg, if you've got other ideas, but I think the American Public Power Association, and here in California we have CMUA, which is the California Municipal Utilities Association. And then I don't want to leave out our CCAs. CCAs have been a fabulous way to get a clean portfolio of power to customers while they're still in the grip of an investor-owned utility. As far as delivery of that power, at least we can give them clean power through our CCAs. And I think the success of Clean Power SF has shown that the public aspect of this is successful. We can do this, and we just need to wrestle the wires from PG&E so that we can bring the cost down and invest in the infrastructure to make sure we can get that power to our customers. So I think it's a continuum in my mind. We have a fully integrated publicly owned utility in Hetch Hetchy Power, but we also have this fantastic program, Clean Power SF, that has been delivering clean green energy to the city, and we want to merge those portfolios and deliver it without obstruction from PG&E. And we will absolutely be working with our colleagues in the POU community, the publicly owned utility community, as well as the CCA community.
All right, I think we have time for, we're almost at time. One final question I'm just going to throw out there, which we talked about the fact that PG&E has declined the city's offer to purchase the grid assets. The question is, what do you want the rest of us to do to pressure PG&E? What can be done? Closing thoughts on that question.
Let your elected leaders know what you think locally and state. Let the SFPUC know what you think. We want to hear from the people who are paying the bills, from the people who are impacted directly every day by PG&E's issues. And us locally, we want to hear from you, but it's important that the state hears from you as well. And And you mentioned that, you know, PG&E has not wanted to come to the table. The thing we hope is that PG&E will recognize that, you know, we can give them the cash they need. We can provide good service, and that they will come to the table and negotiate something that is good for ratepayers, because that should be what they're thinking of instead of shareholder profits. We want ratepayers to be first, and they may not be right now with PG&E. So it's important that we can get a negotiated transaction with PG&E. So if folks are interested and they think this is a good idea, please reach out to your electeds and include, you know, I would say the state as well, and the SFPUC in particular.
Thanks, Pam. And I would just close by saying too, that we can stay updated on the campaign with us, where we are going to be sending out you know, action alerts and things you can do to continue to support this effort. So visit our website, publicpowersf.org/take-action, find that page and sign up for our email updates and more information about other actions you can take as we move forward. But thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Grace. Also want to thank our General Manager, Dennis Herrera, as well for joining us today. And thank you all for attending today's webinar. We really appreciate your time and your interest in this topic. Please reach out to us if you have additional questions. If we didn't get to your question, we are happy to respond to you. And we also want to hear from you. We have a survey about today's webinar. We just dropped the link into the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Did you find this valuable? What did you like? What did you didn't like? Please fill out that survey. And again, you can find it in the chat, and we will follow up with you as well via email with a link to the survey. And with that, I'm going to close this out. Thank you again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Take care.